Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind, I could change, in my mind, pick a lane, commit and climb, the only way to win it life, I never miss that fact, taking big swings, hand to the bat, put me in the ring, you'll go out in a bag, cause I sing what I mean and I bring it to the mad light. Ain't got time to kill, I got time to feel. I took the red pill, I know life's short so I wanna live real. But how's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to feel? They wanna say my name, but they holding back. They wanna say they hate, but they know it's cap. I ain't play no games, I just do that's fact. And I don't feel no shame, it's a mood you lack. I go crazy, nah, but I ain't lazy. Track after track, I work on this shit daily. Pass me the jack, right as fuel, got me hazy. About to unpack all these things I've been chasing. I've got visions in my head, like memories after death. To be a legend instead of something you can forget. I'm living up every breath, I'd rather lead than be led. I'll fill the seats as I spread with every word that I've said. How's it supposed to feel? How's it supposed to feel?
Greetings, culturalists and culturalites. We are glad you are joining us this evening as the show gets started. 3 minutes in, and I'm already pumped. It has to do something with the intro music, I'm sure, plus the great that we have right now and the people that'll be joining us later. But let's start with the man immediately next to me. His name is Jacob. He's also known as Society Reviews. He writes for Bounding Into Comics. He's reviewed more movies than you've possibly seen in your life in the last couple of years, indeed. He is a man of, culture, and hence he's on the panel. What's going on, Jacob? How you doing?
Well, no, I'm doing better than that dog that just randomly got monkeypox under circumstances that we can't talk about on YouTube. But outside of that, I mean, yeah, it's going pretty great.
Hi-yo. What now?
Oh, you didn't hear? There was a story in the New York Post about a dog that got monkeypox. And, so the long story short, the two owners who are Persian and gay got it from a little thing where guys meet up to, I guess, hang out with each other. And then somehow now it's gotten to a dog in the first case of human to animal contact. And no one wants to answer any more questions outside of that. So
they need to get put in prison immediately. That's disgusting.
We already hit too much information 5 minutes into the show. Thank you for bringing that solid wood there, Jacob. By the way, everybody, my man here is going to be on with, Comics Division. That's right. Tomorrow night, he's making his debut appearance on Yelling at Parked Cars. So I'm looking forward.
And I'll also be in Vegas this coming week, too. So
very excited. Meet up on Wednesday. and a lot of other get-togethers and events, random, informal stuff going to happen throughout the bulk of the week into the weekend. So I could not be more excited. Can't wait to meet this man and many others. And wow, going to be a lot of fun. But right below our buddy Jacob is, well, he's the puppet from another Muppet. He is he's well managed by Mr. Chill and or Dr. Chill or something. I don't know. Anyway, and
doesn't matter. Yeah.
Often joined by the Puff Man himself. It's Jolly on Snowdub Entertainment. What's up, man?
Oh, actually, it is Snowdub. If you saw our show last night, the puppets had quite a bit of chaos. Anyway, they're all posseed up looking for El Perro at the moment. So eventually, a puppet will show up here on the show tonight. But in the meantime, I'm going to hang out for a second because your great intro music gave me a little bit of a refreshment of my memory. And this weekend, I got to talk to my co-rapper, Tank, who's on my song Watch My Strut. And he is all in, including my very talented guitarist, Wildberry Dave. And we will be putting together some more Snowdub music soon. So keep your ears open, folks, if you're a fan of some funk. I got some new stuff coming your way.
Oh,
I'm looking forward to it.
I am absolutely looking forward to that. And of course, we have our late arrival from down under, my editor and friend. And wow, the only Australian that has free license on my channel is Mr. Grant Gregory. What's up, my man?
Good to me.
Wow, you sound like Batman. You're terrifying right now. What is
You sound like a dying Autobot.
Don't open the box, Pinhead. So eager to play.
Exactly.
Does anybody know what he said at all? I'm terrified. It's like the demon version of Mr.
Something
Gregory.
about tearing my soul apart.
Well, wow. Sorry, bro.
I think he lost that ridiculous accent, though.
Oh, wow. Apparently.
It was something about internal damnation or something. along those lines.
Excellent.
All right, there we go.
There we are. Wow. Okay. I was like, a little voice mod action for you. How's it going, Grant?
Yeah, good, man, good. So I thought I'd just pop on for a little bit and see how everyone's doing.
And do a little Hellraiser and scare everybody. Well done.
Yeah, it's every time a bloody because it updates the stupid voice mod thing every day, and for whatever reason it defaults to whatever the newest one is.
Oh no.
So.
Ooh, that was a spooky move, man. Well, I'm glad you're here, but last but not least is this guy who I get to hang out with at least 3 times a week. It's Brahma Bull. He's got a little channel. He does a little thing here and there. What's going on, man?
Been doing some late night gaming the past 2 nights.
Ooh.
Like, I'm exhausted. I've stayed up way too late. Last night we went through 5 or 6 different old NES games.
Oh wow!
And a few other games.
Really?
So, yeah, we went through a whole bunch of them. Just started taking requests and playing as many of them as I could, as far as I could. So, but yeah, we've been having fun over there. And of course, we have fun on Comics Division's channel a couple nights a week, and looking forward to Jacob tomorrow night. And yeah, you don't get to just see me 3 times this week. We got the whole week we're going to be hanging out starting Wednesday. So looking forward to getting out there.
Oh, I can't wait. They are letting the dicks loose in Vegas, ladies and gentlemen. Not the entire Dicks division, but many of us will be out doing dumb stuff with limited supervision. So it should be entertaining. We're going to come back with some video evidence, like I do every time. Anytime I go to these meetups, I have video evidence I collect on everybody. So there. Yeah. But let's say hi to our guests. Let's say hi to our audience, I should say, since they are actually our guests. We've got Gary Mendoza out there, O.C. Dobbins, Eric K., who we're going to get to see in Vegas. You get a chance to meet the great Eric K., everybody, if you're coming out to Vegas. He is an amazing human being. My boss is here. What's up, love? We got Dragon Master 360, Cathew, Duck Nation, Sean Estep. We've got Klaus. I always say Klaus. I don't know why, but I love the icon, and it's very cool. Let's see. Who else is popping in? We got Grumpy Old Ninja Kintaro OA. Probably one of the biggest promoters of my channel. I have to say thank you for all of that work. You are amazing. We've got Olaf Von S in the house. Apollomies Minion. Apollomies should be seeing us in Vegas, and I'm pretty sure Orlando as well. I can't wait to see you again, dear. And your puppers. We've got Judicon, DS Ford, and so many other folks joining us, including my buddy Captain Fandom Nerd. I have to figure out a good way to say that. Captain Fandom Nerd. Let's see. Who else is here? Southern Belle is here. Good to see you, dear. Keck44. We've got Emotionally Unstable Amphetamine. Boy, did you see the Welcome to Florida show with me and Lorena? There was actually a guy that got was smoking in a pipe. The cops went to approach him, and the guy said, "Nah, man, meth's legal now," and just kept strolling. It was bonkers. We cover some crazy stuff, man. Drugs get with you, man. We saw this naked dude, right? This naked dude, and it's like very uncomfortable outside in Florida. Mind you, this is in Florida. Dude is naked, right? He goes and he's doing like naked push-ups on asphalt, right? And then he's like just walking around this parking lot of this gas station. And then the cops roll up, and he lays down on the asphalt in the sun. Naked.
Well, if you guys love meth, then you guys will love Vegas coming up this week because there's a lot of that going on there.
Bonkers. We got the Chatimal here. His name's Soul Assassin, and of course Matt G. Matt G is in the house. Good to see him. Morgan King. Boosh is in the house. What up, Spoosh? Let's see who else is here. Scrolling. Can you guys tell I'm awake? I have this magic thing called a glass of wine.
Oh, that was meth.
No, I don't do that. Mark is here. What's up, Mark Lurseth? Good to see you, my friend. Blair de Blair. What's up, Blair de Blair? Thanks for being a member. You guys, I can't believe how many members I have now. It's probably courtesy of this guy, Eric K. He's gifted a bunch of memberships. Appreciate that, my friend. Dr. Dragon is here. We got Blah Olmer. What's going on? Can something still be impromptu when it is scheduled a day in advance? Well, that's a good question. It is kind of impromptu because if you were here last week, you noticed that I changed the time because I screwed up the time. Because I try to leave room for this guy. What's his name? Comics Division, because he does this member thingy like before my show. So try not to run over the top of that. Man, Eric K did it again. We have 5 gifted memberships. My goodness, thank you, Eric K. You're a beautiful human being. Can't believe that. So the following people just became members because of Eric K's largesse. It's John Penn, Boosh McFadden, George Bonnie 90, Dan Hans, good to see you, man, and of course the Sultan Al Fahim. Thank you for all becoming members. Again, thank you, Eric K, for that. Can't wait to add more names to the ever-growing credit list. We've got Timon Flip in the house, Fat Elvis, and so many others here. If I talk about everybody that's in the chat, we will never get to any of the topics. We got John Platt out there and a couple other folks, including E. Clay Thomason and the Stunt Brat. Great to see you, love. So many amazing people out there, including Abomination AJ, who I still owe some art. I'm going to make that happen because I want him to do some art for me, and I want him to know what we're working with. Logic's Finest is here. It's good to see you. So many other folks. You guys are just incredible. I can't believe the support. Love this show. I love doing this show. Sunday nights is a blast. So let's get to the first thing. I think our buddy Jacob has something he would like to share with the class. Jacob.
All right, then. Yeah, let's put me on the spot. Let's get this thing going.
That's right.
My stuff right here.
Yeah.
So I guess we should. So I guess this story broke late last week. Is essentially a battle between governments and Disney. So as you know, Disney has a very, very strong agenda going right now about pushing as much LGBTQ content as humanly possible, especially in entertainment that's garnered towards children. So if you quick little sidebar here, they announced in the Ironheart, which is the Riri Williams series that's going to come out in Disney Plus, that they cast a drag queen who's probably going to play a drag queen superhero in that TV show. And then they also just announced a let me make sure I get this correctly to please the YouTube gods, a non-binary trans masculine actor who is going to also be in the same series as well. So there's going to be a lot of LGBTQ plus in that series Ironheart. And there's been multiple countries in the Middle East that have noticed that a lot of the films that Disney have produced over the last couple of years has not passed their censorship laws due to LGBTQ content. Well, Malaysia is now saying that they're going to actively start to fight Disney because of the content that they're pushing in their movies and their TV shows.
Wow.
So Yeah, so it's funny how this whole thing kind of started because Disney wanted to go to war with Rob DeSantis in the state of Florida over the whole parental rights bill that says you can't teach, gender ideology to kindergartners, and people were really, really upset about that. So this led to them ramping up LGBTQ representation in films like Thor, Doctor Strange 2, Lightyear, several other movies and shows that have come out over the last few months. Well, now the government is saying that we're going to start fighting back against this. So this is the Deputy Communications and Multimedia Minister, Zahi Adu Abahim, which, if I butcher that, forgive me, who says that, yeah, the government is committed to fighting back against LGBT culture coming from the country. And they're specifically blaming Disney and other Western cultures, other Western influences for spreading it in the first place. He says that I am frustrated because the outside world is the one that's promoting LGBTQ. He said in a statement to Parliament. So recently there was films that did not pass censorship, that being the new Thor movie. Lightyear was another one that was on that list because it touches on LGBTQ relationships and things of that nature. So they said that they're cracking down on films that will slip past the censors because it has a lot of this stuff in there. So they're now monitoring films and social media platforms for this type of content. You have to remember that this is a country that, in Malaysia, that criminalizes same-sex relations with penalties up to 20 years in prison and mandatory whipping. So this is a country that is not looking forward to more rainbow stuff in their programming. So there's a number of films, obviously Thor, Love and Thunder, because it featured Valkyrie and the whole dumb arc with gay rocks. And yes, they were in fact gay rocks in Thor, Love and Thunder. I wonder why it only broke even. Lightyear was obviously the big one because that was a movie that was garnered towards kids, and because they front load that in their marketing, a lot of families stayed away from that film altogether. It lost hundreds of millions of dollars, and as a result, I think that also helped boost Minions, the Minions movie that did very, very well. We'll talk about Universal success a little bit later on as well. But yeah, you can look back at, Internals. Obviously, there was a big relationship in Internals in that movie, and a lot of other films. And a lot of these countries are starting to say enough. These movies were banned in Saudi Arabia, banned in UAE, Egypt, Kuwait, Qatar, Malaysia, Indonesia, and several other countries because of this content. So now it looks like that Disney is starting to go to war with some of these countries. They already announced that they're going to be removing a lot of these films entirely from their Middle Eastern portion of Disney Plus, because obviously the governments will not allow them to show these films in that nation. So it's either get rid of the films altogether or get rid of Disney Plus in that region. They opted to just get rid of the film. So they're finding themselves here in quite a pickle. Now, this has been probably one of our most polarizing topics this week, because you have two sides to this. A lot of people obviously don't like the fact that there's a lot of gay, trans, and lesbian stuff that's been pushed in kids shows. So on one hand, a lot of people are fighting up against this on their own right. But then on the other side, you have the Malaysian government stepping in saying, yeah, we're also going to do the same. And there's people out there that say, well, I don't exactly agree with the government stance on this either. So you basically have what I like to call in the pro wrestling world a heel program between two bad guys, and you kind of just want them both to fight each other and see what happens. So I'll toss this over to you guys. What do you think of this whole situation with Malaysia and other countries standing up to Disney and their content?
Well, I mean, I would say the proof's in the pudding as far as it goes in the box office. I mean, the receipts show it all. I mean, Minions is beating Thor. That's terribly embarrassing for
them. Not even beating them bad too.
Yeah, and Thor is another in a string of Marvel films that's been released to not achieve the magic threshold of $1 billion, and Thor is doing it in epically spectacular failing, right? And this on top of the fact that, as you mentioned, the Lightyear lost probably $200 million to date. Yeah, I my thoughts are, there are a lot of countries that are not nearly as tolerant as the United States and a few others that are in the West. And this is going to be a problem for Hollywood going forward, because they do rely on 43 international markets for a considerable portion of their box office. And that's excluding China. So, and China's cracking down on this too. I don't know. Anybody else have thoughts?
Well, just kind of outside of this direct story, there are a lot of countries that aren't listed on here that are also pulling back from a lot of the things that America has been exporting lately. America has kind of gone full bore into the trans to kids stuff, and if they want the hormones, you give them the hormones. And a lot of other countries are pulling back, saying that we're exporting poisonous ideals there because they're not proven to be safe. And this is just an offshoot of that. I think it's the ideals that we're exporting is not agreed upon by everybody.
Yeah, and I mean, we look at, and it looks like we lost one of our panelists. I think Mr. Grant Gregory dropped off, probably internet stuff. But Mr. Tickle Trunk says, we love the average LGBT person. Of course. The version of the flag that he has depicted there, they absolutely fine. The issue is obviously the radicals that are doing this, how do you put it? It's not really cudgeling everybody with it. Is that all right? Does that sound good? Does that sound like the right term?
I mean, it's a big enough word that people will take time before they're offended by it. So I think you're good.
All right. And this is the truth. I mean, Hollywood will make two versions of their films, and when the United States populace catches on to that, they will wait to consume the version that the world gets. That's going to be the case.
That's a whole nother level of hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm.
If it is so important to Disney to have this in their films, then losing some money off of it shouldn't be a big issue to them. I mean, if they really are preaching this, then the money shouldn't be a big deal for them. But they're showing that they're not exactly, they're behind the movement and the thought conversion that's going on, but not necessarily completely convicted by it.
Yeah.
Money talks and bullshit walks, guys. So look at the bigger picture. They had two nuclear weapons in the beginning about 10, 15 years ago with Star Wars and Marvel. They promised us the trio getting back together in the original Star Wars Force Awakens, dropped the ball with Last Jedi. They pretty much blew that load. Now they're just picking up the remnants. Marvel, same thing. They brought in Captain America, Iron Man, and the Hulk, and all these guys for the Avengers, with the promises of those type of movies. They blew their load with Infinity War and Endgame. Now we're seeing the remnants of that. Basically, they're all out of weapons, guys, and we're seeing what's left of it, and it's falling apart right before our eyes.
Yeah.
And it's important to note that, when you look at the worldwide box office, international box office represents like 2/3 of Hollywood's overall haul. And there's the content that we're putting out there starting to upset a lot of countries. So like you said, pretty much all of the Middle East have cut themselves off for the content that we're producing now. They've lost China for the most part over the same issue. So that's a lot of potential, revenue in box office receipts that they're losing there. Not only that, there's also other countries that are just sick and tired of just, the progressive hiring standards of American entertainment. If you guys remember the Resident Evil that came out that was on Netflix, not only got panned here in the United States, it got panned pretty hard in Japan as well, because people who are obviously in Japan, it's called Biohazard. So they checked it out in the Japanese version of Netflix, and they were like, what the hell is this? Like, this is absolutely garbage. People are starting to identify the United States with all this politically correct stuff that it's coming out. So you're going to start seeing not only just people here in the United States, but in other countries just slowly walk away from this stuff because they don't want to consume it anymore either. So if Hollywood wants to keep this machine going, they're going to have to figure out if they want to be a purely political machine or if they actually want to make movies that people want to see, because right now they're not doing it.
They forgot how to pander to the demographic of the young adult.
Yeah.
They think that all the young adults are in some kind of special sorority clique, whether it's gay rights, transgender, some kind of rah-rah groupie BS, when most kids just want to be kids.
Yeah.
And so they're not pandering to them anymore. And that's the problem. It's like my son, he's about to be 13. He's gone from being a rabid Star Wars fan and Marvel fan to absolutely not caring about what comes out next.
Yeah.
He has no interest at all in either of them, either of the franchises. And this happened just over a couple of years.
And it's soul crushing, right? When you see somebody lose something like that was so key to their, to their growing period of time. I mean, we all kind of lost a lot. Memes actually, brings up a quote: "Everybody loves to buy, no one likes to be sold." This is 100% true. Yeah, give me something I can buy. Give me something.
And there's a reason why Top Gun is still the only movie to have reached $1 billion worldwide so far in the box office. It's the only movie that's even engaging anyone to want to go see. Like I'm got an early look at like my top 10 movies of the year, and I'm like, if I had to take all the international films off of this list, I would be in pretty rough shape trying to find
Like
10
2?
great movies. Yeah,
Maybe 3. Like I said, I mean, outside of Maverick, right? Top Gun Maverick, and maybe Minions, which was actually a pretty decent film.
yeah.
I'm hard pressed to find something else that was blow your
Was
skirt
Dune
up.
this year or
It's-
late last year?
No, it has to be
That's right.
2022.
Yeah, I was asking, was Dune this year or late last
no,
year?
it was last
I couldn't
year.
remember.
Last
Okay.
Yeah, the only other one I could think of box office wise would be that Jurassic World 3, but I mean it wasn't a good film. Like people
Dominion.
watched it.
It was
Northman?
rough, man.
Yeah, and
Northman's. Yeah, Northman's a good choice. I think you can have.
I think Northman bombed though. I think Northman.
Yeah, but
did
it's
not
a
make
good film.
Yeah,
See, that's the problem. Is like there can still be good films out there that should be, well watched. But I know some people would disagree with that. But I know this much: it took way too long for a 3-letter government agency to figure out something that we all knew all along. If you haven't followed what I was saying, it's probably because you haven't heard. Although we saw this coming prior to the weekend, as it was, revealed to everyone else, something everybody already knew.
yeah.
And it is this: Alec Baldwin pulled the trigger. Everybody. So, according to FBI forensic results, medical investigator report. Complete in deadly rush shooting, the findings will be reviewed by the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office and forwarded to the DA to determine whether charges will be filed in the October 21st shooting tragedy of cinematographer Helena Hutchins. And again, this is 2 people were injured and 1 killed in this incident. I mean, the director took a bit of this shrapnel from what happened here. And the FBI's forensic analysis and New Mexico medical investigators report into the October 21 shooting death of the cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of the Alec Baldwin starring movie is completed. And they tell you, details of the documents were not released publicly, but ABC News reported that the state's Office of Medical Investigator concluded that Hutchins' death was caused by a gunshot wound to the chest. And a review of available law enforcement reports shows no compelling demonstration that the firearm was intentionally loaded with live ammunition on set. Based on available information, including the absence of obvious intent to cause harm or death, the manner of death is best classified as accident. The FBI.
So
Go ahead.
So I just have to not to undersell this here, but essentially what the story here is that it took the FBI 10 months to confirm that Alec Baldwin pulled the trigger when he shot and killed someone. Is that the gist of what I'm reading here?
It took them 10 months to understand that guns don't fire themselves.
Jesus Christ. Oh, man. And then you wonder why people don't trust the FBI. Yeah.
I mean, and look, how hard was this? This is a type of firearm that requires the actual engagement of the hammer by finger. That is not a oopsie moment.
Yeah. So this means two things. Either they're just insanely incompetent, and there's people in the FBI who truly don't know how revolvers work in its mechanism, or something is being covered up here, because it's like, how did it take him this long to figure it out that, oh yeah, a revolver shot and killed a woman, oh yeah, someone had to pull the trigger. It's like, yeah, that's usually how guns work. Like, guns just don't, you can't just throw one up in the air and be like, oh, it fired all by itself. It's like, that's usually not how they're built.
Well, it's a high-profile case, and it's with somebody who actively portrayed the 45th president in a very negative light. So he's very liked and sought after by certain political prowess type of people.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing he's getting the most gentle touch as things are progressing forward. That said, Mr. Alec Baldwin is in good hands as far as his criminal case would go. Now imagine if it was Tim Allen who pulled the trigger.
Yeah. Or literally anyone
Or
else.
James Woods.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and it's not just that he pulled the trigger, it's also that he had an unsafe work environment. He was the producer on the movie, and they were firing live rounds, just goofing off and doing target practice, too. So ultimately, it's his responsibility, regardless of what happened with the trigger. I mean, he's directly responsible for pulling the trigger, but he's also indirectly responsible because he's in charge of that workplace.
Yeah, he hired like the gun handler who was clearly incompetent and didn't know what the hell she was doing. Because you can't, how can you even make the mistake of bringing live rounds anywhere near a movie set? Like, what scenario are you ever going to use a live round on a set? Like,
That's either ignorance or incompetence, probably both.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you know, honestly, yes, there are investigations that do take multiple years. This was pretty simple because of the type of firearm that was utilized, and you know, they did go through a lot of interviews, but a lot of the footwork had already been done by the local authorities. So it's just kind of sauce. It really is.
He's going to get manslaughter at worst. At worst.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, at best he'll probably walk, you know, and maybe some grip or technician will take the blunt of the BS for him. Who knows?
Well,
you know.
But he'll also get sued into the ground.
That could happen too. A civil suit, right?
But there's definitely a civil suit en route. But that's
Yeah, not to mention Alec Baldwin doesn't exactly have the best history and relationship with people in general. So, because now the man is quite known for having a little bit of a temper problem on top of a lot of other things. So,
well, the husband and kids definitely have a suit, and they could clean house on him pretty easily, I would think.
What kind of? This is one of those weird moments. There's no justice available here. I mean, this is one of those times when there is really no justice available to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
No justice, no peace. Culture. Let's go burn down a city.
No. But you understand. No. I don't. No, I never call for violence. That's no fun. No. Look. I know. And it was funny. But the honest answer is there's no real justice available for anybody here. I mean, even Alec. You know, as much as I don't like the man, you know, is justice served by him being in prison? I mean, there's just isn't. And maybe that's just my opinion. Now, is he in the wrong? Yes. Is there going to be financial ramifications for it? Sure. Should he have to go around and talk about gun safety for a year? Yeah. I mean, you know, he should be forced to do, that type of thing. But what?
I don't see him doing any jail time. There's definitely going to be a massive settlement out of court. Like, that's pretty much the most likely scenario out of this.
At the absolute least. Go ahead. Sorry.
I just can't see, and this again, I just can't see there being justice here because nobody will be served.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to get justice for the family when the guy won't even apologize.
Oh.
And he's done his so-called apologies where he makes excuses. I didn't actually do anything. It was an accident on set. None of this is my fault.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe he deserves to go to prison since he can't admit any wrongdoing in what happened. But that's not going to happen.
No, you're right. Office Girl just sent me the nicest member chat. She said, this casino has the best pit boss. Thank you. Thank you very much. That was awesome.
I thought he was going to say piss spot.
No.
Have you seen the bathrooms at Culture's Casino? They are top notch.
Yeah. It's more sanitary just to pee in the corner.
Hey! It's beautiful. I have beautiful rooms. Oh, you guys are amazing. Darcipio's in the chat. What's up, bro? I'm being called things they're fine. I mean, Polly, it's okay, bro. Good to see Polly in the chat. We got Michael T out there with his comics. I don't know. What does the chat think? I mean, do you guys think that there could be justice served here?
Hopefully. Well, actually, I wanted to jump this one into another topic real quick that's involved in cinema because obviously we all know that culture is very in touch with Indian cinema, and I can safely say that I just saw the movie. Is it called RRR? Is that the
Yes.
name of the film? Okay.
Yeah.
So I finally saw that movie today, and yeah, that movie sucked. Why'd you make me watch it? That was no, I'm just kidding. No, this movie was great. I'm just throwing you under the bus there.
No.
Yeah, so like I said, it's the true definition of like an epic like movie film. Like it's completely over the top, it's completely ridiculous, but it's an absolutely fun movie. And I would say it's probably my number one movie so far this year. So I'll thank you for the recommendation. But on top of that, I wanted to ask you about a story that you actually covered last week. Was I guess the push to make Indian films more diverse for women.
Yeah.
So here you have a film that, keep in mind, this film cost what, $75 million to produce.
It was really inexpensive, just like amazing for what you got, right?
Yeah. And the effects actually looked good. It looked better compared to like some studios that spend like $250 million to produce their movies, and it looks absolutely terrible. Yeah. So I'm thinking to myself, here you have a movie that really just makes Hollywood and what they're producing look absolutely like terrible in comparison. So it feels like they're trying to, I guess, infiltrate that by saying, hey, why don't we start pushing our diversity and inclusion initiatives on other countries? Now, I don't know how well this is going to work for a country like India, but it seems like if you can't beat them, then I guess sabotage them is sort of the motto going on with Hollywood right now, because they can't produce anything that gains the type of interest that these films have gotten. Like I said, we talked about it this year. The only movie that has really gotten a lot of buzz is Top Gun Maverick, and that was more due to the crazy mind of Tom Cruise more than anything else. So it's like outside of that, what else have you really got that you can compare it to?
I think India is kind of going through a cultural shift of nationalism right now.
Yes.
I really don't see that happening as far as getting pushed into that kind of a directive.
Well, they're trying, because it's Amazon that's pushing the elbow into their back right now, because they do fund some of the films over there, and they do produce originals in India, so they're going to try to get this in the back door. I just don't think they'll be able to do it. I don't know, but.
Can't be forcing things in people's back doors, culture. There's got to be consent.
No, they don't like that. Yeah, look. Raise the hands if you've seen an India film out of India this year. I have. Yeah.
No, I haven't seen.
You haven't? Okay, well, fair enough.
No, maybe I'll watch this. Maybe I'll watch that one since everybody rants and raves about it.
Yeah. I was asked in the chat about Lal Singh Chadha. I wasn't aware it was a Forrest Gump kind of a remake. I do know that there's a legal case involved with that film. Somebody's going after them right now. I just don't know who. I thought it was somebody from the Producers Guild over there. I would have to look it up. But
from what I've read, it very much is a Forrest Gump remake in India.
I believe you. I see anything. If somebody says, "Hey, do you see this film? It's good." At this point now, when it comes to Indian cinema, I'm going to take their word for it. Because let me tell you, I haven't done the review on Toombod yet, but it is a really good horror film. It is 100% a mind mess up. I mean, it gets in there. Hello.
And to what Jacob was talking about, though, I mean, Bollywood and the rest of Indian cinema are not necessarily the same thing. So are they infecting Bollywood? Or are they trying to infect Indian cinema as a whole? Or what are we talking about here?
Well, their primary target with Amazon, I believe, is Hindi. But you have obviously the films that I've been focused on with, which are Telugu language and Tamil and similar, Tollywood and Kannada. The Kollywood. I'm kind of focusing outside of what technically Bollywood would be.
Yeah, that seems to be the right move, because, like I said, I know this one was technically like what you call like a Tollywood movie. So I'm still trying to like understand like all the different like branches that they have like there in India, because obviously with me, I cover like a lot of like South Korean cinema, so I've covered a lot of their stuff, and like the South Korean like action movies and like thrillers are like really, really good. The comedies are a little bit hit and miss. Romantic stuff's a little bit hit and miss, but they actually do pretty good like narrative and character written dramas out there. So I'm still trying to learn the ropes with the whole Indian thing. Now, obviously, not every film is going to be RRR, but if there's more films that are at least similar to the quality, then I'm definitely more open to doing those type of reviews. I mean,
well, it's really amazing. I mean, and again, I mean, you're surprised. This thing's 3 hours long, and you're like, it was great, and you're not challenged by the length, and you would think you would, because with American cinema right now, if it goes over 2 hours, you're looking at your watch going, why isn't this over yet? But speaking of, I'm the person that I wanted to be here from the beginning, my hetero life mate showed up. What's up, Tom?
What's up, bitches?
Wow. Took you a while to
The
find the
audience
lady.
going loud. I show up when I mean to.
Yeah, you did.
No,
Hey,
sorry, I'm late.
Monkey Jeebus thinks my favorite Indian cinema film is Basmati Blues.
Where's your shirt?
I wore it already.
Well, you sure to wear it every day this week.
Why? It's actually it's fresh, clean. I'm gonna wear it in Vegas.
He wore my shirt last night.
I did wear your shirt, and right now I'm wearing Florida Man shirt.
Or maybe that was Friday night. It was Friday night you wore
It was Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I'm so
Did you
glad.
guys see the gay shirt I got him?
Oh, everybody saw
The Tom shirt?
Yeah.
I saw it.
It's awesome. Yeah, we've got Doctor Who is the textbook example of go woke, go broke. The woke mob attacked straight men after the gender swap that didn't watch the show. Lowest ratings in 55 years. Show is dead now. Logic's finest. You could not have said that.
Now aren't we getting gay
They're
black
dragging
Doctor Who?
it further down. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
never watched that show, and I never will. So
It was like the show crashed, but it wasn't enough fire in the explosion. So let's pour a little bit of gasoline in and see if we can make it bigger.
that show died before I even knew what it was.
The two hirings I've heard are a trans person for one of the companions and gay black man for the doctor role.
But did you? Okay, first of all, let me tell you the kid that's playing the doctor, right? I've seen him in other stuff. He's a very talented actor, at least from my observation so far, and the two things I've seen him in. But my problem is, like, I expected more from Russell T Davies. I really did, and this is not what I expected from him. So he's essentially destroyed his reputation with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did a video weeks back that was Russell T Davies is not saving this franchise with the hirings that he's making. And he's doubling down, if anything, on the exact things that push people away.
Yeah,
They want just a show about the Doctor, some companions. There's no sex.
I love campy sci-fi of the Doctor Who, right? I mean, that's the stuff we go for, right? And that's not what you're getting now. And so Logic's finest, I could not have said this better myself, to be honest with you. So well done there. I agree with this statement from Fat Elvis. If you liked RRR, watch KGF. Yes, watch KGF 1 and then watch KGF 2. And be grateful that they're in the process of producing KGF 3 right now. Get it next
And
year.
isn't there another one like Brahma Bull, the part 1, the Shiva?
Wobbly?
Brahmastra.
Hey, keep your eye on South Korea too. They're coming out with some decent stuff.
Oh man, the South Korean
just
horror.
put him over.
Yeah, that South Korean horror stuff is incredible. Jinja Ninja in the house. Good looking dude. Gosh, one of my favorite redheaded artists. I don't know any other redheaded artists, so there you go. But it's good to see him, man. Good to see him.
Can I rant about another film that I recently watched that let's just say wasn't as good as RRR? So there's a movie out there right now called Bodies, 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 and it stars everyone's favorite, I guess you can call him, entertainer Pete Davidson, along with a couple of other people who have not been in anything good since I've seen them in the last 10 years. So this movie is obviously my worst movie that I've seen so far this year, and believe it or not, I've seen a lot of bad movies, but this one really takes the cake. It's a film where I didn't enjoy a single second of it because right out of the gate, But when you open movies, there's normally a credit scene, or maybe there's like an intro or something like that. Now, this movie starts off with clearly a straight minute of just lesbians making out and grabbing certain no areas. Now you think that would be entertaining for some people. It's not. I can trust you that it's not very well done. The whole movie it feels like it's millennials trying to make fun of Gen Z, when millennials have absolutely no right to mock Gen Z for the state of our current society, because they've placated to it more than Gen Z has up to this point. And the whole thing is just like the movie They Them. It's a slasher film that doesn't have any actual slashing, because just like They Them, there's no actual killer in the movie. So the whole thing just turns out to be a giant waste of time.
Well, and that's actually kind of funny that you said that, right? Because there was like some inclination that bodies might be good. I was expecting more out of A24 because this is one of their babies, right?
Yeah, well, A24 is very hit and miss with me. Obviously, I would put over like Everything Everywhere at Once was a really, really good film that I saw earlier this movie. But there's also been some other films like obviously this one's just terrible. But then like The Green Knight, I didn't really care too much for. Like I said, it's definitely a hit and miss as far as their quality goes. This was just a complete miss, just top down. And yeah, so this was just absolutely off. There was no likable characters in the film, and I thought to myself watching this, it's like when Hollywood, like screenwriters are like writing these type of movies, do they actually think that these characters are likable? Like, do they actually think that the audience are going to embrace these people? Because when you introduce characters like this, you just want them to die almost immediately, and then you get angry when they don't. So
I'm assuming that they're writing themselves, and they think that they're likable.
It has to be. There's a clear, like with American movies, especially with these writers that. Oh, by the way, this writer of this film, I don't know who he is, but he had no writing credits on his IMDb or anything like whatsoever. This is essentially the first thing that he's ever worked on. I'm thinking to myself, how does someone with no experience writing any movie, any TV show, any short whatsoever gets a feature film and then performs this terribly? Like, there's a clear disconnect going on with Hollywood right now, which is why all these other movie cinema outlets from other countries are just doing way better than they are, because these aren't qualified people who are writing these movies that Hollywood wants you to see.
It's nepotism or favoritism, one or the other.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a good point. Deleted scenes. I did not know this, Stephen. Davies' first choice for the Doctor was Toby Stephens. He shot the transformation scene with him, but BBC fired him behind Davies' back. I did not know that.
Wow.
Toby Stephens is the guy from The Pirate Show and son of, what is her name? Really old lady was Wendy and Hook. Is that the right guy? Am I thinking of the right guy? Redheaded guy?
He was the name is on my tongue. I can't think of it.
Yeah. I can't even remember the Pirate Show. It was one of them that was, on Showtime, I believe.
Black Sails.
Black Sails. Yeah, that's Toby Stephens, correct?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, now I got to pull up who his mother or grandmother is, because
he looks like a punk musician that I can't remember his name either right now. But yeah, Toby Stephens.
I can't believe Tom hasn't piped in.
Yeah, Tom, have you seen any good films lately?
Have you seen a good film?
I like that Unbearable Weight of Everything All at Once.
Okay, that's like two different movies.
No, I didn't like the Everything Everywhere All at Once, but I like the Nick Cage one.
Oh, the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah, and I like Beavis and Butthead this year.
Right. You can't say that film often enough. That gives me hope. If you're that happy with it.
Oh yeah.
Maggie Smith is his mother.
Ah, that makes sense.
Mm.
Although she looks like she could be his grandmother.
Yeah.
And if I can chill another movie real quick, this is a movie that kind of came and went. It's called Infinite Storm. This is a very, very good character study, and probably in my top 3 so far this year. It features Naomi Watts. It is essentially a story of two people dealing with different types of grief at the same time. She's kind of like a rescuer, and she helps a man who essentially killed his girlfriend it was like an accident, obviously, but he feels so much grief about it that he went up to the mountains basically to freeze himself to death, and she has to like fight to like bring him up, but she's also dealing with the fact that her daughter also died in the accident as well. So it's two characters that meet each other at just like the perfect time. It's very, very well done. So if you guys want to look at an actual positive movie, check out Infinite Storm if you haven't seen it yet.
That's cool. And we have a bunch of people popping in the chat. Good to see all the newcomers. Tim's here. CC Karaoke's here. We've got TZ Burton here. Mighty Orbots is here. Thanks for joining us, folks. Appreciate that. Michael T says he enjoyed The Gray Man. Has anybody else here seen that film?
I've seen it. It's all right. It's definitely flawed. And they put a lot of money into it, but I mean, for a Netflix film, and we all know Netflix doesn't exactly have the best content out there that they originally produced. It's probably one of the better things you're going to see on Netflix
It's
this year.
probably because of the Russo brothers. I would attribute that to rather than Netflix itself. But I feel you. I feel you. But that's good to hear, man. Good to hear.
It's getting a sequel.
It is.
Yeah, I think they
are officially going to launch it as a franchise because that was the plan originally. I didn't know if they were actually committing to it, but that's good to hear.
I watched All of Us Are Dead on Netflix. It's a Korean high school zombie, kind of a fun popcorn, mindless show, but it was great for a binge. Didn't have nothing to do on a day off. It was raining type of thing, and I enjoyed it. I like Korea's, kind of approach to horror and the fact that they don't really have any kind of political objectives that they're trying to come across. They're just showing a bunch of kids in high school eating each other alive, and it was just trying to survive, and so that aspect is so refreshing to see now because I'm so engulfed with all the garbage that we're constantly being thrown in our face.
Real quick, to answer Sean's question, yes, I will see that movie. And I think it was Mr. Tickle Trunk who also asked me if Infinite Storm is a survival movie. Yes, it is. It's half survival movie, then also is majority a character study as well. So,
yeah, Andre Enriquez's Boss Level is the best movie of 2021, and I've heard very positive things about it.
I don't think I've seen that one, so I might have to check that one out.
Now, I enjoyed Terminal List. I enjoyed The Old Man with what's his name? Starman, Jeff Bridges. I really enjoyed that show, even though there were 7 episodes on the FX, Hulu, Prime, whatever. But Top Gun was great this year, and what else, guys? Has to be something else, right? Stranger Things, I think, was pretty good this year.
Yeah, well, Cobra Kai, which is we're going to get a fresh Cobra Kai. Yeah.
Right.
If you're looking for good Netflix content, there's a South Korean drama that I literally just finished earlier this week called Tomorrow. And the premise is essentially it's a group of Grim Reapers who try to prevent people from committing suicide. So that's like the concept of the show. It's very, very well done. It's emotional. It's smartly written. And it's one of those shows where it's only 16 episodes right now. I don't know if they have 80 plans on doing anything more, but if it's just 16 episodes and nothing more, like it's a very, very satisfying series. So that's definitely one that I would put over on Netflix.
Squid Game was good. Check out Squid Game. And I even enjoyed, The Gray or whatever with Ryan Gosling and
Gray Man.
Evans. Gray Man?
Yeah, Gray Man. We just talked about that. Yeah.
That wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people are stoked for Cobra Kai coming up. Go ahead, Jason. What's up?
No, I was just saying, you guys were talking about South Korean horror earlier, and I mentioned in the chat, we've got 2 episodes of Foreign Bodies where we were talking about South Korean horror specifically. Our 6th and 7th episode.
Wow. All right.
But yeah, South Korea has got quite a bit
of
material to watch. That's worth the time.
Yeah, it's interesting right now out of Asia. There have been a couple of interesting human interest stories. One of them was about a guy, the tallest bridge in his province. He goes there every night to prevent people from jumping.
Oh yeah, I did hear about that story.
Yeah. I'm like, that's interesting. Lots of stuff. We got a lot of stuff out there. We just have to go looking for it. We have to kind of share it around. I think it ends up being word of mouth. I think more than anything else, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the good word of mouth is what contributed to the success of Top Gun Maverick. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but
there's also perfectly serviceable movies that you're just not going to remember all that well, like Nobody. The one with Odenkirk.
Oh, yeah.
Came out in 2021.
Yeah, I love that.
It was a good movie. It's just nothing to get super excited about. The Man from Toronto with Harrelson. Again, good serviceable movie. Nothing great. But, I mean, it's entertainment.
Did anybody see the new Jamie Foxx project? Because somebody was talking about it today with me.
Was it
I haven't heard anything good.
Okay.
I've heard
childish
humor.
It has Snoop Dogg in it, so it's probably not good.
I've heard it's really childish, really stupid. So
typical Netflix.
Yeah.
There is actually a good Netflix movie that Adam Sandler did earlier this year that kind of went by the wayside. It's called Hustle, where he's playing an NBA scout talent. And if you're like an old school basketball fan, it's actually a very interesting movie. So there's one that I would put over. It's not quite as good as Uncut Gems, but it's a pretty solid, serious Adam Sandler film.
George really didn't like Day Shift at all.
No.
Wow, good to see you, George. I miss you, brother. Can't wait to see you. Hopefully, I can see you Thursday. Got a whole lot of chocolate chip cookies for you. No Legs to Stand On says I was cleaning up a mess. A South Korean movie I liked from the other year was The Cop, The Gangster, and the Devil.
That is very, very good. It was definitely made my top 10 list. If you haven't seen that movie, watch it. The idea is that there's a serial killer who attacked the mob boss, and then the mob boss has to team up with the cops in order to find the serial killer. So it's a very, very good film. It's the guy's name. He's in a bunch of South Korean movies, like the big guy. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's in that film as well.
Look, Andre Enrico said something I think is quite astute. Cobra Kai is going to destroy She-Hulk, House of Dragon, and the Rings of Power. As far as viewing numbers, yes.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
So will Yellowstone. November,
Yellowstone.
Yellowstone.
Well, yeah, in 1883,
Boom.
Both. Yeah.
Well, and the new one.
Yeah.
There's another spinoff, 1923 or 1927, something like that.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford is going to be heading up the cast with Helen Mirren.
Yeah, Helen Mirren is a very talented actress, and we won't have her around very much longer. So
neither will Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford.
All things considered, too. So.
All you have to do is keep Harrison Ford away from weed and an airplane at the same time, and you're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Harrison Ford's too mean to die.
You know what? Tom usually does a voice there, and he didn't. I'm sad.
He's asked the director to kill him off multiple times, but they just refused to do it.
Well, there you go. But I don't know, folks. Yeah, Harrison is 108 years old, according to Tom. So I don't think he's wrong.
He's kind of up there.
Oh,
Speaking of, crazy story about his co-star, Anne Heche finally taken off life support.
Well, okay, so she was declared legally dead several days ago, but they were able to figure out what organs they could acquire, and they changed her existence, her plane of existence. So very sad.
That's a shame.
Yeah, this is crazy how that whole story happened, because we actually, when we were doing our movie night, we just watched Volcano a few weeks ago. We were talking about her, and then the whole thing about the circumstances of the crash, where she was going at insane speeds in a residential neighborhood and crashed into a home, and the home caught fire and everything that caught into that. So yeah, there's definitely a lot going on with that. It's sad to hear that.
Yeah,
and that was the second accident of the night for her.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, she was fleeing from a hit and run.
Well, you know what? This is a good point, Logic's Finest. I don't have a closed mind when it comes to House of the Dragon. I was speaking just purely on viewer numbers. I think that Cobra Kai will have more views. House of the Dragon, I'm looking forward to checking out the 3 episodes that I commit to when I start something. If it's good, I will keep watching it after 3 episodes. If it's not, I won't. That's just the way I'm wired now, and it saves me a lot of heartache. But yeah, open minds are important when it comes to new entertainment, especially if we think they might be shifting directions. We won't know until we see what happens. The book is really good, and it looks good so far. Let me tell you, the aesthetics of House of the Dragon compared to the Lord of the Rings of Power show, night and day. Sorry, House of the Dragon looks much better.
From what we've seen, yeah.
Yeah.
The money's going somewhere in that show.
Yeah, indeed.
The production value.
Well, and I think the other thing too that Cobra Kai has got going for it is that you talk about positive word of mouth from the get-go. It had that, and a lot of people were talking about how it respects what came before, very much like Top Gun Maverick. And if House of the Dragon respects the source material and it's a relatively faithful adaptation, I think it'll get good word of mouth and it'll survive. I think that's one of the things that Lord of the Rings has got already piled against it is, so many people are talking about how it's diverging from Tolkien, and nobody wants to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you came across I think they've come across a group in fandom that will absolutely reject any and all things that don't line up with the books. I think they are going to weather a storm they probably weren't prepared for.
Well, what they've done is created a guilty until proven innocent thing with the way they've handled things. So some people aren't going to give it a try until it gets deep into the season, and a lot of people are saying it's good or it's bad because they haven't handled things real well traditionally lately.
Yep.
Although if you look back and at last summer's Tolkien Society Summit, the big academic thing they had all in I want to say it was last summer.
Yeah,
a lot of the academic papers were talking about the queerness of it and the coded and all this other stuff. And I'm like that's not Tolkien. Well, it was like, what books are you reading? Because
this is where we've seen the corruption of academia, right? Because clearly those people were influenced in some way by someone or something, usually money. And you know what? You'd be hard pressed to find any references that you'll be able to convince anybody that's ever read those books multiple times, beginning to end, including the Silmarillion, who would agree with that perspective. But in answer to Olaf Van Ness here, real quickly, before we dive deeper into that, for €2, does Culture send George a link? I did. He has it, and he's in the permanent group. He always has the link.
Yeah, he always has the link.
Yeah, but if and when he's available, he's always welcome. I miss it.
This is a point that I wanted to make too. We're talking about kind of word of mouth, especially with movies, because obviously I don't watch as much TV, so I wouldn't know too much about how TV works. But the one thing that I've noticed, especially this year with films, is that it's much easier to spot a bad film than to spot a good film. Because with the reason why I review a lot of movies is because the movies that make my top 10 good list, outside of, you can argue maybe Top Gun and RRR because you had recommended it to me,
right.
Is that these are movies that I essentially kind of have to find and watch for myself to kind of see, because really you have to essentially find these movies in a needle in a haystack to know where the good ones are, because they're not necessarily going to be the big budget movies or the big blockbuster films like Thor and Doctor Strange, things of that nature. But on the flip side, you can spot a terrible movie coming a mile away. A lot of these movies that I've watched, I give a little bit of hope that maybe it'll change my mind, or maybe there'll be something that I'm not expecting, but they just end up being bad movies. And you can look at what's coming up later this year. There's probably another 7 movies just from the trailer alone that it might make my top 10 worst movies this year. The Woman King, which is basically female Black Panther, looks awful to me. Then, of course, you also have the actual female Black Panther movie that's coming out later this year. You have Billy Eichner's Bros movie, which is the all-gay love story, which is kind of hilarious. That's coming out while there's a monkeypox outbreak going on right now. You have
timing.
Yeah, bad timing. Then you have Till. You have Avatar 2, which the first one wasn't really that good. So how much are you going to have for the first one? That Olivia Wilde movie, which seems to me is going to be about how bad life was for women in the 50s because they wasn't progressive and feminist enough for them. So there's a number of movies coming out that I look at, there's no way these movies look good at all whatsoever. I'm a guy that reviews movies, so I'm going to see most of them regardless. But
right.
I can understand that for just a regular person who's just looking for something good to watch, they're not going to watch any of these movies. They're not going to go out and seek these films unless they hear from someone who they trust that, oh no, that movie's actually good, you should watch it. But how many of those movies do we have right now?
Well, the other problem, and going along with what you're saying, is the bar has gotten so low that what we're calling good movies aren't really all that good.
Well,
there aren't that many good movies right now.
No,
the bar has been so lowered that we're just accepting mediocre as good.
I feel if something like Young Guns, because it was mentioned in the chat, I feel something like Young Guns, a quality Western film, right, came out right now, it would destroy all, just like Top Gun Maverick did.
I would hope so. There's
certain kinds of stories that always sell. And I mean, That's I don't think that it's ever going to change, and the story that I actually pulled, and you actually have, it looks like a better version of it, Jacob. Talks about.
Well, we'll get to test your theory there because Emilio's making Young Guns 3.
Is he really?
Are they?
Yeah, when Morgan Creek announced all their sequelizing and rebooting or remaking all their IPs.
Wow.
The thing that gets me about the Woman King, you talk about reaction to, with the timing with the monkeypox and that, and with Bros. I mean, you look at the Woman King. It took her I just saw a headline. It took her 6 years to make it, but the actual true story that they're telling, I mean, the blowback on this thing was almost immediate. A lot of people sitting there going, you know who these people really were, right?
They were the slavers.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Why would you make this movie?
I couldn't believe it. So I was sitting in the theater of Bullet Train. By the way, good film. Going to do a review on it this week. I enjoyed it. I know other people don't agree. That's okay. I enjoyed the film. And there are reasons I did. And it's because I enjoy things like Snatch and Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Smoking Aces and stuff like that. And I felt like this was kind of in that vein. But anyway, let me move on from that. One of the things there, of course, it's a Sony film, so they're going to have Sony trailers. One of those Sony trailers was this Woman King film. And I turned to the people I'm with and I said, because the minute it said based on real events, I'm like, how?
Yeah, you're gonna have to do a lot of retconning and fantasy to somehow base that story on "quote unquote" real events. Yeah.
Well, it is a way to retcon things, because if people say they don't like it, then it's automatically racism. So, I mean, this is the time to release it if you're going to try to rewrite that story.
Yeah, then people are gonna try to identify with the soldiers because it promotes the progressive idea of there were black female soldiers and they fought the slavers and whatnot, even though that's not how the real story goes, but that's how it'll be portrayed years down the line.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the problem, right? This revisionist history garbage. But Logic Finest brings up another great point, and just killing in the chat tonight. Tatiana Maslany was brilliant in Orphan Black. She's an incredible actress.
She is.
And it's not like she's hard to look at either. She is an underrated actor. I want Hulk to be good. I want I want them to have accidentally done the wrong kind of marketing with not finished material. That's what I want.
Yeah. Everything I've heard about that series is she's not the problem. The problem is going to be the actual writing of the show. That's what everyone's going to be concerned about. So yeah, she's fine. It's just like the who's writing these episodes, because that will worry me a hell of a lot more.
Well, I think they need to lean more into the fact that this is a comedy. I don't think they've played that up enough.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen hints of breaking the fourth wall. We've seen her do it a couple of times and do the look to the camera, but that needs to be in there a lot more, because that's John Byrne. I mean, that's that sensational She-Hulk. That's one of the more popular runs that the character's ever had. And I think that if they were to highlight that more, because people are looking at this as, oh well, it's just it's a female Hulk, and people don't know the history of the character. They don't know that She-Hulk's been around since the late 70s. So it's one of those things where, again, dropping the ball marketing. But this is Marvel. This is what they do. Everything that they've done for all of their films has been kind of slightly not quite 100% where they need to be, because I've been saying for a long time, put the comic books in the movie theater lobby. Hey, you just saw Thor. Look, here's some Thor comic books. She-Hulk should be the same way. There should be marketing in the TV show. Go read some She-Hulk books, or maybe classic She-Hulk books, not the current stuff. But I'm hoping it's good. Tatiana Maslany is a brilliant actress. She's really, really, really good. And I think she's going to lean into this. I think she's going to kill it. If you're like you say, Jacob, if the writing is there, if the material is worth it, she'll, even if it's crap writing, she'll elevate it a little bit, and maybe not enough to keep the audience. But
yeah, well,
I'm
Culture
hopeful. I've
can.
been wanting to see the show for a while.
Well, Culture can answer the super chat. Then I have a question for all you guys. So.
All right, George Molo for $4.99 says, Culture, do you like Snatch?
He says Snatch.
Yeah. Look, here's the real problem. Tom's not here right now, so I didn't do that justice. I honestly wish.
Well, the question I was going to ask you guys real quick, kind of bouncing off of what he said about She-Hulk, is that, well, ask yourself this real question. Is that, when was the last good comedy movie you guys seen? Like, we'll go back to the last comedy movie that you just like, that's actually a really, really good film that actually made you laugh. Because the point is that, obviously this show is going to be more comedic. It's going to have a lighter tone, but we haven't really seen great comedy out of Hollywood over the last few years.
Can I ask a question then, Jacob? Because you saw Bullet Train, right?
Yeah.
Did you laugh out loud?
Not really. No.
Really? All right. No. Okay. No. I'm sorry. I really enjoyed the interaction with Lemon and Tangerine.
This will probably throw off what you were asking, Jacob, but Beavis and Butthead recently.
Oh, yeah.
I laughed during Beavis and Butthead. But beyond that, I can't think of anything. I mean, I really wanted to like the new Bill and Ted movie. I couldn't.
No,
it wasn't funny.
I heard a Free Guy, but I haven't seen it, so I can't say for sure.
Free Guy was... I mean, it was an okay movie. It was pretty good. Taika has himself in it once again. It wasn't overly funny. I mean, it was just a good movie. One of the ones you just put down there, I thought was funny. Deadpool 2 was probably the last one, prior to Beavis and Butthead. I think it's been that long.
For what it's worth, I'm not a hater of Ragnarok, right? A lot of people are. I thought there were some genuine funny moments in the film. I thought it was like the conflation of multiple different kind of films or comic books. Yeah. Like it kind of felt like a Planet Hulk film, mixed with some other things. Mm-hmm. But I can't disagree with this take. Taika Waititi is kind of a hack.
Well, first of all, his name is David Cohen. Just throwing it out there. So
I know. But he took his New Zealander heritage or whatnot.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey! I mean, he's a one-note director, and JoJo's Rabbit was a good movie.
Yeah, Jojo Rabbit.
The comedy in it was suitable. What he has done with things that aren't supposed to be full-blown comedies is destroyed them, because he can't keep himself out of it, and he can't keep his own sense of humor out of it, to the point that it just destroys whatever he's trying to make.
It's actually very funny you mention that, because that's the reason why I didn't like Jojo Rabbit, because I felt like that film, had stuck to the more dramatic elements to the story, would have been a far better film. I thought the comedy completely undercut what he storytelling throughout that movie. That's my opinion.
Well, I thought that would have been a very deep, dark movie if they didn't have the comedy in it.
Wait, go ahead, Tom. Bill and Ted.
Oh, all I said is I didn't mind Bill and Ted, but I can't argue that it's not nearly as good as the first two.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And as far as funny, not nearly as funny as the first two either. But no, like, we've had Bill and Ted. We've had a few. I liked Ragnarok and Guardians of the Galaxy were both very hilarious. But, I mean, those aren't straight-up comedies either. But as far as actual comedies, not many.
Beavis and Butthead, Tom. Beavis and Butthead, the latest one is
is the most traditional comedy we've had yet.
Yeah.
And look, Ben Hennigar for $10. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate that. It says last funny movie I remember was Tropic Thunder. Dude, that film still is hysterically funny.
Do yourself a favor and watch Beavis and Butthead, then, Ben. You'll like it.
I'm going to.
You still ain't watched it, Culture? I ain't talking to you now.
We get in a fight every stream. Have you guys noticed that? It's like.
You're 3 episodes behind on the show, too.
Yeah, I know. Don't do that. I know.
Yes, you guys do fight like a married couple, and he's buying new clothes
what's up,
now.
Jeff? Good to see you, man.
Well, Jacob's complaint.
He's a pilot.
Jacob's complaint about Jojo Rabbit is my complaint about Love and Thunder. Is you've got two different movies competing with each other there, and the comedy completely undercuts and undermines all of the drama that's going on with gore. Going after, I mean, there's this menace right in the middle of all of this nyuk 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 Three Stooges stuff, and the Three Stooges are all Larry Fine. None of them are the funny stooge. It's like
You're not wrong.
I
there,
think
yeah.
I think with Taka, he can actually be a pretty solid like director of like serious stuff, but his personality just won't allow it.
I think
that's
he
kind of
started
the fundamental
sniffing his
problem.
own farts too much, is what happened.
Oh yeah,
Could be that too. Yeah.
He got there way too. He got there way too early. Would be
Yeah.
And I would-
you can't let ego consume you that early in your career.
I mean, when you're on a yacht having three-way with famous actresses, I mean,
Yeah.
probably part.
I would have
of
made the same argument about Ragnarok, though. I mean, it's freaking Armageddon, and they're joking all the way through it. I mean, the shift from Ragnarok to Endgame immediately. I mean, they take place within seconds of each other.
See, I can't really argue that point, right? But what I can say is, at least with Ragnarok, for me personally, and again, humor is a tougher thing to like. It's much more subjective than objective. I mean, it's a lot tougher to make an objective argument for anything that's a comedy or that's something that's supposed to be humor. But you're right. Like, to me, though, 90% of the jokes land in Ragnarok, but I cannot dispute, like, when you have, Asgard exploding and then him dropping a joke 10 seconds later. You're right, because that's what Jason was just saying. That's indicative of what is wrong with Thor Love and Thunder. That's the whole movie. You have a movie that's about Jane dying of cancer. You can't, I mean, you can have fun with that. I hate saying it that way. You can find humor in that, I should say, but it's not something you can really make fun of and or have fun with. That's what I'm trying to say, right? Like, you can make a movie about somebody who's dying of cancer who just happens to have a sense of humor about it, but you can't make a comedy about somebody dying of cancer, really. That just doesn't really work necessarily. I mean, the closest thing I can remember to anything like that was it Dabney Coleman or Mel Brooks was in this movie where he found out he was, I think it was Dabney Coleman, where he found out he was dying, but he had to die on the job for his family to get his insurance or whatever from his job because he was a cop or whatever. So he keeps putting himself in harm's way to die, right? Like, even then, it's like that movie flops. So it's like those comedies are even tough to sell, right? That's a tough one to get into. But sorry, I went and rambled there.
No, I want to ask you a question because this is actually a legitimate one, I think. How long is this guy's career going to be?
He had a great career up to this point. Let's be real. I can't deny it. Yeah. I mean, he's had What We Do in the Shadows, or whatever the hell it was called. Jojo Rabbit I haven't seen yet, but it got very good reviews. I mean, most of his other films that I've seen or shows or whatever are stuff that he's in. I don't mind him personally. It's, as far as the characters go, it's his personality outside of that. It's the shit that he does on Twitter. Yeah. It's the antagonistic way that he talks to people. If he's maybe trying to be funny with the whole "I'll ruin your mythos in a minute, baby," but it didn't come off funny.
Yeah,
it just came off like a smart.
He's what people in the UK like to call a bloody wanker. Just put it lightly.
Well, it's also he does this. It's the same comedy, the same shtick, and everything. Yeah. So he's not going to go long if that gets old.
Yeah,
it's going to get real old, and people are just going to be like, "No, I mean, I've seen this movie 12 times already."
Yeah, it really depends on if the normies just really start getting sick and tired of the shtick because they just keep seeing it over and over again.
I think one of the problems with a lot of these directors, not just Taika Waititi, but you get people like Josh Trank, you get Colin Trevorrow, you get all of these instant hits. They make this very small, low budget, nothing movie that nobody sees except in the film festivals, and then suddenly there's this sensation, this media razzle dazzle around this new talent. Right? We've just discovered Josh Trank, and he's going to be a superstar. And then suddenly they hand him Star Wars, or they hand him the Fantastic Four, or they hand him a Marvel movie, or something. big giant budget thing. And I remember watching Once Upon a Time in Mexico and listening.
Thought it was great.
I was listening to the commentary track. Robert Rodriguez was sitting there talking about, here I am. I've made these low budget movies. Suddenly I've got 3 times as long to shoot a movie, and I've got all of this money, and I almost didn't even know what to do with myself. And I'm thinking, how many of these 1 and 2 movie directors now suddenly find themselves doing a franchise blockbuster summer tentpole film?
Well, you have
$300 million budgets.
You just named a few of them,
yeah. Well, as I mentioned earlier with the bodies, yeah, as I mentioned with the bodies, you have people doing full-length feature films now who have absolutely no writing experience whatsoever. So that old barrier of hey, work your way up and then you can get a Star Wars or a Marvel, like that doesn't exist anymore.
No,
these writers. Yeah, go ahead.
But the risk is they fall flat on their faces instant. I mean, just the first time out. So I mean, you look what happened to Josh Trank. He made Fantastic Four, and his career just completely disintegrated.
Yeah, a lot of them are either Tranks or they're Ryan Johnsons or
you're not going to get a lot of Spielbergs. You're not going to get
no.
You're not going to get a lot. You're not going to get the independent movement.
You're not even going to get Michael Bay's, right? Because they don't even have that rite of passage anymore. It used to be you would make like a short film or a little indie film, and then you would move up by directing commercials and music videos, and then you would start directing TV shows and TV movies, and then you'd start doing features.
Yeah.
That kind of used to be the hierarchy of where it would go.
Yeah. But, Culture mentioned Spielberg. I mean, you look at that generation, Brian De Palma, George Lucas, Francis Ford Coppola, Martin Scorsese. They went to film school. They made some little films, and then, they talked to the studio, and they made a little bigger film, and, everybody hated THX 1138, and then Coppola looked at George Lucas and says, I dare you to make a comedy, and he comes up with American Graffiti.
All those guys worked in TV too, though.
Yeah. In American
people got to remember that.
American Graffiti is still a standout film. You can hand that to anybody at any age.
Well, even Spielberg worked on Night Gallery, and he made Duel and shit like that before he got to Jaws, right? Coppola, all those guys worked on smaller projects and other things before they got to do. Even Coppola, like Godfather, was never meant to be his magnum opus.
No.
Yeah. Like I love that in the offer they even have him say that unironically that like I didn't even want to do this movie and now it may be my magnum opus. Like he literally says that. Yeah.
Well, one of the biggest problems has been with these cinematic universes and all these franchises, like. The studios have pretty much become like the writers and the directors now. Like there's no actual like identity with any of these films. Right. And with the fact that all of these studios have been condensing over the last, 20, 30 years. So now there's only like 4 or 5 major studios. It's even become more prevalent because these studios only care about, hey, let's create, another 10-year, plan that's going to create 30 movies, but we can't have any of these movies have an identity because they all have to interact with like one another. So
that's the problem, Jacob. In all honesty, in fact, George here in this super chat, and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it kind of weaves into what you're talking about. He says, "Please tell me why Marvel went from giving us phenomenal Phase 1 to Phase 3, then shit the bed. They built a kingdom, then they are actually actively tearing it down."
Yes,
exactly. Well, to answer that question, essentially after Endgame made a couple $1 billion, they were under the impression that, people are always going to go watch these superhero movies, so we can just do whatever the hell we want now. So we're going to play our own agenda. And they're finding out right now that that's not exactly the case. That a lot of people are like, well, now that Endgame is over, what point in me staying for another 5 years to watch? I don't know, I'm going to see Kang and then an Avengers movie in 3 years. Is that going to be a draw to anyone, or if everyone's just like, we're done now? Like,
yeah.
Well, see, that's the other problem, right? They're essentially killing off a genre that is a rich vein of storytelling, and they've been doing that for a while. Brad Smith says, Culture, I worked on low-budget film in the 1990s. They dyed my long hair black every day. Yeah.
Boom.
I've made low-budget movies. Yeah, it's a way to get experience. It's a way to get something, you network with people that are just starting out the same as you are. Yeah, and you get opportunities to learn, and every project that I've ever done, I have tried to approach it as, okay, what can I learn on this one? What am I getting in experience that I can then turn around and use for everything else? But
Because-
to Jacob's point about the franchises,
Right.
I've said for a number of years now, especially when it comes to Marvel, these big franchise movies, these series of movies, if you look at it as a giant television show writ large, they've got giant budgets, but it's just like a TV show. You have a showrunner, and the directors swap out and everything. You remember talking about Star Trek, the original series, when a director would come in and it's his first episode, he says, okay, hit these buttons here. Well, the actors would sit there and go, no, it's these buttons over here. And, when everybody knows more than the director does, but with Marvel, you have Kevin Feige as the showrunner of the TV series, and each movie is an episode in that series. And so it all has to be of a piece. And so the directors only have just so much control because they've got to fit within the context of the entire TV show.
Yeah. Look at
but
Lucasfilm. Look at Lucasfilm. How many directors and writers have been fired from Star Wars films over the last few years because they clashed with Kathleen Kennedy?
That's right. And this comes down to another super chat that we got here just a moment ago from Magitech Mags. Thanks for this $2. Appreciate that, and happy birthday once again yesterday. Hope that you had a good one. Says, stupid question: are directors one-dimensional now? Yes.
And no.
Yeah. I think it's just to
Depends
do
on
with
the
the fact
project.
that, because a lot of they'll find success with one thing and they'll just go think to themselves, well, if I just keep doing more of the same thing that got me over, then that would be my bread and butter. Well, like I said, they'll take into account that people are eventually going to get sick and tired of the same thing over and over again. So you have to have a little bit of versatility there.
But then they get hired to a tent pole like Thor. Like, going right back to Taika, he is he is one-dimensional. All right, that hiring him to do Thor, and where he does actually throw what he likes to do into it, personally for me is the part I don't like about the Thor series now. But I mean, to me it feels like if Marvel or DC were to say, okay, we're going to make a Batman movie, we'd like Wes Anderson to be the director for it.
But the problem is all of
he's going to bring his same shtick to it.
Yeah.
Because
and some of that's the problem, right? Because in Marvel films, the big ask is already there, right? Because you are setting aside, your systems that tell you superheroes don't exist. That big ask is already there. So when you set aside, that, you need to make something with Robert Meyer Burnett's favorite word, verisimilitude. It needs to have the appearance of reality. And when you bring in people who are outside of reality, that's the kind of filmmaker they are, like Taika Waititi, I think that adds an additional ask to the audience that sometimes just it isn't going to work. And I think that happens with a lot of directors. And that's why I say they're one-dimensional. But again, it comes down to meritocracy, and we can have this conversation all day long. But I mean, it really does. None of these people have had a whole lot of experience. Fudge! I almost cursed. The showrunners for the Rings of Power, have no actual practical experience.
Yeah.
None.
Well, and as much as I hate The Last Jedi, I have to give credit where credit is due. I admire the fact that Rian Johnson did something completely different with Knives Out the next thing. Because if he'd tried to do the same thing with some other science fiction thing or whatever, I'm thinking, okay, that's a good move for him career-wise because he doesn't pigeonhole himself into the box that he's only directing this kind of movie. I think Colin Trevorrow is working himself into a corner with some of the stuff that he's directing because he's staying in a niche and he needs to do something different.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's go back. Getting back to Rian Johnson real quickly. I will agree with you if he doesn't end up doing a bad job with Glass Onion, because that's the follow-up to the first Knives Out film.
Yeah.
I never did watch Knives Out. What is it about? I mean, what kind of movie is it?
It's supposed to be like one of those, I guess, like drama comedy type things. The whole premise is that the patriarch of a family dies, and then all his rich snobby kids are trying to divvy up all his money. So the film itself, what Rian Johnson said years ago, I'm not sure how true this is, but basically it's supposed to be an allegory to the Trump family in his own words. So.
Yeah, but it's not. It's more like Clue than it is anything else. But
Okay.
It's funny, I hear descriptions of it. I think that sounds like a Peter Sellers film.
Kind of.
Almost.
Kind of. It's not as good as a Peter Sellers film, but kind of.
No.
Yeah. And Bruce, I don't know what you're saying. I mean, I just promote everybody. So of course, I hope you did well. I'd like to thank you for what happened to me on this platform today. Thank you again. No, man, I didn't do much. I do the same I do for you as I do for everybody else. You guys, everybody out there, you guys are my people. Mr. Tickle Trunkos, I always ask this question: where the F is this generation's John Carpenter?
You're not going to get him when the studios are running everything. And actually, you have a super chat that kind of touches up on this one. If you want to jump into that one real quick.
Yeah.
I think
he probably got an F in film school for not going along with the message.
Yeah, actually, Mark has a good description too. Knives Out's a spoof of murder mysteries. That's true. It's a whodunit, a comedy whodunit.
If you look at the Last Jedi as a spoof, it kind of works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was a spoof of a chase movie.
It was a spoof of a movie.
We got spoofed.
There you go. Murdered by Death is great. Agatha Christie's spoof. It is.
That's true. Yeah, that's Peter Sellers.
Yeah. And Black Man Unfiltered Network says, "How are you guys tonight? First time here, and I subbed. Well, thanks for being here, my friend. Appreciate it. Welcome to the party.
Nice to see you.
Yeah." Jamie says, I wanted to hashtag resist Trump and the patriarchy. Some cupcake baker in California.
Yeah.
I don't know any of those things. It's a spoof of Battlestar Galactica. Well, there you go. Although I don't know how. Sure. And this is true.
I can see Last Jedi being a spoof of Battlestar Galactica. Sure.
Yeah, it's a chase movie the whole time, just like Battlestar.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Oh, you mean TLJ. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a spoof of Battlestar Galactica. A slow speed chase when you were in spaceships. Yeah. So Logic's Finest brings up a good point, because I will agree. Nolan, I love him as a director. I think he's great. Villeneuve, I think he's great. Miller is hit and miss. And yeah, there are a few others out there. The problem is they're not getting gigs. I mean, outside of the Villeneuve Dune Part 2, I don't know that Nolan's going to get another monster. Is he doing something?
Nolan's got Oppenheimer's about to come out.
Yeah, the walk-in thing. I just don't know. That's completely disassociated from his other kinds of filmmaking. So we'll have to see how that turns out.
Well, here's another question, and this is something that a lot of people have talked about, but it's like we talking about we don't really have creative directors or creative writers anymore. It's like, how creative can you be in the face of a lot of these diversity and inclusion agendas that are being pushed with these major studios? Because we've heard this talked about before. Writers and directors have talked about this, how they wanted to tell a story, but they were told by the studio that they have to have a certain person of this color or a certain person of this sexual orientation. It's like, well, that's all fine and dandy, but that doesn't exactly fit in the story that I'm trying to tell here. But if you don't put those type of elements in your film, you're not getting greenlit. So there's another barrier between like creativity in the studios when they're pretty much the ones controlling everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think the other problem with that, and this goes back to the idea of creativity, and I can't remember where I saw this, but you have the problem of younger generations not taking the time and not putting any attention on classic literature, and not just science fiction literature, not just reading, Heinlein and Asimov, but also reading Edgar Rice Burroughs and Sherlock Holmes and Wuthering Heights and Charles Dickens, all of that stuff, because they don't have an appreciation for story as much, because now we all watch movies and everybody is getting their movies and taking those bits and pieces and shorthand and let's mishmash it up and come up with something, but it's not really all that new. I had a comment on one of my videos the other day asking about, well, didn't George Lucas just rip off, things like Dune and Foundation and
Fortress? You
look at what Lucas did, and he pulled from all of these different influences. You've got Campbell and Kurosawa and Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers and all these other things. to come up with this new thing. It's a new mix of the same ingredients, and I don't think the modern era creatives have the juice to do something like that.
No, they don't understand the 7-story outlines. They really don't.
Well, I do.
Yeah.
From the advent of
probably does, but
from the advent of the smartphone and the internet, these generations have grown up without an imagination.
Yeah.
Well, it's not only
Everything's
that,
in front of them. They don't have to go play. I mean, they don't have to come up with something to do. It's right there in front of them at all times.
That's a main reason
it's a
why
stunting
kids,
of the imagination.
Yeah, why kids aren't even into toys anymore, right? They're so used to having, VR video games that do everything for them, or if the toy doesn't automatically flip and talk and do 20 different things, then they're just like, well, that's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Kids have no imaginations anymore.
It's
And
not
without
only that,
imagination,
but,
you can't write a story.
well, it's not only that, but we're raising a generation that, is bred to the idea that everything that essentially came before the 1990s is bigoted or outdated and such, where they look down on all that stuff that would actually inspire, good writing and good storytelling, because they're in this progressive pigeonhole that, well, this wasn't, diverse enough, or there was something problematic about the way they did things back then. So they only look at the past and be like, well, I can change this and make it better by making it more progressive, and ends up just missing the entire point of those stories that they were trying to tell back then.
Or
Exactly.
It's either too old-timey or...
It didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
It's either
at all.
too old-timey, or it's made by white people, or it's problematic, or whatever reason they want to, attach to it.
Yeah.
Bruce, I would say the closest to Carpenter, I think, as a writer, Lee Winnell, probably. I mean, he writes for, I think, mostly James Wan, but I mean, there are people out there, right? And I agree with this statement. Snyder is a great cinematographer. He's not the best director. Sorry. He did great on casting a wonderful team of superheroes for DC.
Well,
he
mostly
gave them a lot of garbage to work with, and that's my opinion. If you love the Snyder films, that's awesome. I hope
John Carpenter, I don't know if we'll get another one of him, because he is one of those guys that has such a give a fuck attitude, at least back in the day, that it was all about what he wanted to do, and that was it. Didn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
The only things he did that he didn't really care for were like when he got forced into writing Halloween 2 and shit like that.
Well, but look, it comes down to writing. I mean,
Up until later on in his career when it was, just about cash and checks, but yeah.
But it comes down to writing, Tom. Directors can give you good stuff if they have good material to work from. I don't know, man. It frustrates the hell out of me now. We have so many avenues to express creation, and nobody's doing it because they aren't creative, and it's bothersome. And yeah, Nolan made Tenet. It is a masterpiece. I agree with you.
Piece of something. I don't know.
Man, I'm sorry, Tom. Did it challenge your intellect?
No, I got fucking bored by it. I knew what was going on. I'm just like, why should I give a shit? I'm sitting here watching the movie for like 20 minutes. This fucking couple's talking about getting a divorce. I'm like, I don't care. I don't fucking care. I really don't. I just don't.
Well,
I know what the movie was about, but
emotional investment in characters is hard to come by these days because, there's no depth to any of it. You're talking about the generation that everything's easy and right there at your fingertips because all I got to do is do a Google search or look at YouTube. I've got a classmate of mine. She's now a professor of psychology at San Diego State University, and she's been studying this for now 15, 20 years. She calls them iGen. And it's this generation of kids who have grown up with the internet, and it's wired their brain different. And it's all, I want it now. I want it for me. I don't want to have to work for it. What do you mean it's going to take time? And this sense of me, now, entitlement generation. They don't want to work for anything. They're impatient.
It's the Veruca Salt generation.
Yeah.
That's why loot boxes work so well on these kids.
Yeah, and we're going to have probably two 2 generations past it in order to recover from it.
I think you'd be surprised. I think that some of that generation has gone more traditional than we even realize. But look, Ty Sloan for $5 says, "Where do you think they will go with Spider-Man after No Way Home?" This is a good Tom question. The next movie won't top that. And how do you fix Star Wars after rinse of soybeans?
Star Wars is barely on life support right now. As far as
you don't fix Star Wars after Kennedy's gone.
Yeah,
What was that?
You can't fix Star Wars until Kathleen Kennedy's gone.
Well, it's deeper than that. You got to get rid of Pablo Hidalgo and maybe even Filoni.
That's the start of it.
Yeah. Where do you go with Spider-Man? He's going to college. I think they may embrace this idea of the multiple Spider-Man, but we'll have to wait and see what happens there. I'm sure they'll try and cash in on that somehow, some way.
Is the animated freshman year actually in canon? Is that going to be the follow-up to No Way Home?
See, I've heard 2 different stories on that. I've heard it's a prequel and I've heard it's a sequel. So I don't know which it is.
I think it's pretty much a lot. They're going to replace Peter Parker with Miles Morales in the next few years. So it seems to be the direction they've been pointing towards for a while.
Some places I've read and heard that freshman year is like the freshman year in high school when he first became Spider-Man, and we get to see the origins of his version of Spider-Man. And then other things I've read say it's the freshman year of college. And I'm like, well, I thought that's what the next trilogy of movies was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was his college years, but we'll have to wait and see, I guess, on that part. I'm sure Spider-Man's going to do fine, and I don't know about them replacing Peter Parker in the movies, maybe in the comics, but in the movies, I think Tom Holland will play Peter Parker for like the next 10 years.
Well, that's the thing, though, because everything that we've seen from the comics is now trickling into the movie, so...
It does. You're not wrong there, but...
Ultimate Marvel.
Here's the thing. That Spider-Verse movie didn't really make any money. No. As much as people liked it and whatnot, and it won an Oscar, it is the lowest grossing Spider-Man movie of all time. Because Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You go to most people and say Miles Morales, they won't go, who?
Yeah.
They don't know who the fuck that is. Or you ask people who Spider-Man is, and they'll tell you it's Peter Parker. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing. So
he signed a pretty decent contract here.
I was gonna say I think he's gonna be around for a while, from what I heard. So
yeah,
he's gonna kind of be the centerpiece for a while.
Yeah.
So
better him than Brie Larson.
Yeah, she's out the door. I've heard after this next Marvel movie.
Just don't give them any details of what's happening.
I know it's funny. I was watching a very terrible Netflix movie called Choose or Die with Asa Butterfield, and I'm thinking to myself, isn't this the kid that basically blabbed his way out of being Spider-Man? Is it the same kid?
Oh, that's right. I think I remember that.
Because I remember the story being that they were actually going to go with him, and I guess they told him that just keep quiet until we make the official announcement, but he went and blabbed to someone he shouldn't have blabbed to, so they ended up going with Holland instead. So it's like, yeah, that was a oof.
I gotta say though, I'm pretty pleased with Holland's performance. I think he does a pretty good job with it. The thing with the previous Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, each one of them does a good part with one half of it. Tobey Maguire is a better Peter Parker. Andrew Garfield's a better Spider-Man. And Tom Holland seems to have a handle on both fairly well. I mean,
I would say this. No Way Home, the last one that just came out, that was the first time since he's been around, since what, Civil War, that I felt like, okay, now he's finally coming to the role of a Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't had a problem with Tom from the start. I didn't care for the second film, but yeah.
Look, I'm a Toby guy, but that's because I'm old.
I like Toby. He's the original Spider-Man to me, don't get me wrong, but I kind of agree with Jason here that Holland does a good job of encapsulating all the different kind of sides of Peter Parker and Spider-Man together.
Yeah.
I mean, my Spider-Man is Nicholas Hammond. So
yeah, there's that too, yeah.
Wow.
Technically, that was my Spider-Man growing up, but
yeah, Ty Sloan throws out another $2, and he asks a question. Another one. Thoughts on Black Panther drama recently? Dumb.
Now what?
Is there new drama? Because
New drama? Yeah, I don't know what's up now.
I don't know what this references, Ty. If I did, I would jump in on it. I mean, if it's them going after people that are calling out the slow funeral dirge of a trailer, I mean, yeah, that would be dumb. If you're talking about the introduction of a character that went from being an Atlantean to something else entirely, it's dumb. I mean, there's a lot of dumb.
The only two major complaints that I've heard is obviously what's her name, Letitia Wright, becoming the new Black Panther, because people still think that she's anti-vax, so they don't like her for that reason. And you have the other side of people who basically just want them to recast the role of Black Panther.
I want it to be a good film. See, this is all I ask for in a film. Be good.
Looking at the trailer, it looks like it's going to have the same problem that Thor: Love and Thunder has. It's 2 movies.
Yeah,
you've got T'Challa and the funeral and the recovery and woe is us and
it's a send off.
Everything's sad and war with Atlantis. Like you've got 2 competing story ideas here. This is going to be a problem.
Well, and the problem is they didn't just recast, and they tried to write a movie around Chadwick Boseman not being alive anymore.
Yep.
And as much as I hate to, I'm not. I don't want to speak out of turn, but they absolutely should have recast that part.
Yep.
I believe so.
Whatever you may think about Chadwick Boseman and how great of an actor he was, and young, and he kept this a secret and all this other. It's very tragic. But he's not a saint. I mean, we can't. We didn't retire his jersey. I mean, come on. You can still put somebody in that role, and keep telling stories with Black Panther. And now you've shot yourself in the head with half of this stuff, trying to get around the fact that Chadwick Boseman is dead. Mm-hmm. T'Challa didn't die, except now he did.
Okay. All they had to do was hit pause on this film, get a writer behind it, write a good script, set it aside for a few more years. This did not have to be made at the time frame they're making it. I understand why it's being made. There are reasons that it's being made that are beyond the reasonable reasons that it's being made, or it's been made, I should say. I just want a good film. And if they're able to carry off the passing of T'Challa in a way that does almost what I would think would be impossible, fantastic. And if they're able to make a good film, that honestly is the bottom line. It's all I actually care about is a good film. So and it needs to be. I mean, it really does. As a follow up to the film before it, it needs to be a good film.
I thought that they should have recast him with the guy who played Manta in Aquaman, but then I remembered that he's playing Manta in Aquaman, so I don't think that they would allow him to play 2 different characters.
Well, I mean, and consider this. I mean, you're already making a character that was an Atlantean into an Aztec or something.
I
do have to.
I know, and we actually need to get through these super chats and start to wind it down. We had a few more stories to get through, but we'll do our best. Tom, anything you want to promote and talk about? We're going to go about another 20.
Yeah, I wish I could stick around, but I do have to run here. Karate with Infinite Patience and all that stuff, because it's almost midnight, so I got to go. Sorry. Got to get to the store before it closes. So.
No, I hear you, man. Go take care of
all
yourself.
Right. Take care, guys. Love y'all. Be good.
Hey, man.
Later, Tom.
Yeah,
you don't get to play Black Panther, Terrence Howard.
Oh gosh, yeah, or John David Washington, Denzel Washington's son. I keep hearing that name around, and I think that's a good choice. I think this guy actually said that.
There's a couple of names out there they could have recast him with. I mean, look, the guy's dead, so it's like, hey, look, we understand that something happened that we obviously couldn't control, but I mean, look, we'll honor his legacy, but we'll have to continue the character, right? Yeah. They made it seem like it was like an Ezra Miller situation when it truly wasn't. Like they could have made this a lot easier on themselves.
Yeah, I think they're cashing in on his death, like Mr. Tickle Trunk said in the chat. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
They could have
So
done
what
a
else-
number of different things. Instead, they're trying to have a funeral for an actor in a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, I understand.
Not an actor, or not the character, a funeral for the actor.
Yeah, I'm
That's
again.
how it feels to
I
me.
think
too.
that's disgusting.
I don't know, but a lot of people are making cast suggestions. Fluffy is Black Panther. Somebody else did another
Carrot
good
Top.
one. Carrot Top. There you go.
I mean, reverse the ginger side, right?
Yeah. Well, Ty apparently is trying to sponsor tonight's show. Thanks for this, Ty Sloan, for number 3 for $5. Says some woke activists on TikTok said white people shouldn't go see Black Panther opening weekend was what I meant, basically. Whoa, bringing race into the movie, dude! It's going to destroy it. The most important thing, and this is crazy that this activist did that. So Ty, I hear you. This is nuts. The most important period of time for film is opening weekend. If it doesn't open, it won't have legs.
Hey, I got a great idea. You know what they could do? They could take chopped up old footage from the other movies like they did with Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher, and parade Chadwick Boseman around like some kind of puppet on the next Black Panther movie like they did in Rise of Skywalker.
Disney's getting pretty good at playing off of dead actors.
Yeah,
Stanley's
why
Twitter
not?
account.
I mean, Disney knows no bounds, culture. So
I know, and
the
yeah,
amount
I
of
mean,
disrespect that they'll throw.
Mr. Tickle Trunk says Disney's heartless. I don't. First of all, this is silly, and it would destroy the financials of this film. That person does not understand business. And again, that's what we're dealing with, is people who are uneducated, is specifically about the movie business, but maybe in other ways as well, when it comes to this kind of stuff, because an opening weekend is paramount for a film. It's one of the most important things. Man, that's crazy. And you know what, Cash? I think I actually teared up when Garfield rescued fake MJ.
Yeah. That was
Yeah, because I want her to die, and he saved her. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It was a good moment for Garfield. I mean, he gets quite a bit of redemption in this movie. And you know, I'm not opposed to a Spider-Man 3 for him.
Hey, Ken Jeong, I think, could probably pull off the next Black Panther, but they would have to modify the costume a little bit.
Yeah.
The way he sprung out of that trunk in The Hangover, I mean, he's agile.
Oh, boy. That was bananas. No, look, and I understand. I mean, a lot of people are making a lot of these casting suggestions that are somewhat outrageous. But I just, look, step away from this character for a bit. You know, I mean, have him off doing something else. You know, you can make another film central to Wakanda. It doesn't have to have or feature Black Panther in it. I just don't get it. But hey, you know, they did what they did, and that's the way it is.
Well, and this goes back to talking about Marvel being, you know, the Marvel Cinematic Universe being a TV show, because if Feige's got this plan that's just so all the way out for the next 5-6 years or whatnot, and you see the disruption that, you know, pandemic has taken on this thing. And, you know, we're getting that now with the Warner Brothers stuff, because The Flash was supposed to come out before Aquaman 2, and now they're having to swap out Keaton and Batfleck because Aquaman 2 is coming out first. And, you know, the Flash 2 is not, you know, Flash isn't out to set up all of this stuff, so it's not going to make any sense. But Marvel is the same kind of thing. If you have one little piece out of place, everything falls apart afterwards. So you know, for them to take Black Panther and put it on pause, it doesn't affect just that movie. It's all of them. Because
that's why they need
the
to
nature of, you have to put this in and you have to take that in. You have, is one of the things that Sam Raimi ran into with Doctor Strange 2, is all of the stuff that he had to put in. And he ran into that with the third Spider-Man movie that he did with Tobey. No, you got to have Venom. He's like, it's too many. You got to do Venom. You know, studio interference is always messing things up.
Yeah.
But they need to get back to single stories with single characters, and then maybe have an Avengers movie or two movies that bring them all together. Then go back to singular stories.
They have to
They're
use
cameoing the crap out of everything.
They have to use what little they have left to introduce derivative characters that nobody gave any craps for in the comics, that aren't interesting. They lack anything original, and that's the playbook. So Stunt Brad, I think you're right. Toby, I'm going to agree with you. Toby, Spider-Man, Keaton, Batman, Superman, either of the Reeves. Yeah, Batman. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, and Brahma, I think maybe they're kind of sort of setting up for Young Avengers, because Feige said that once we get past a certain number after Phase 4 or whatever, that you'll get a better idea of what the path is that we're on, because we don't really know right this point. You got Riri Williams, you got America Chavez, you've got the kid, you got Wanda's kids. At some point, we'll get a Hulkling or whoever, and maybe we get Young Avengers are going to be the next big team up thing that's in.
They're headed for A-Force. They're headed for A-Force, Jason.
Well, they could be doing that too, but I don't think A-Force is big enough, because you've got 2 Avengers movies that have been slated.
Yeah, A-Force is the first one, and Super A-Force will be. I don't know. It's gonna suck.
Unless Young Avengers goes to the TV. But
people just don't care.
There's so many people, so much speculation about Young Avengers being set up at this point. And there are enough of the characters that have been introduced that they could very well be doing that.
Yeah, and NTR for Black Panther, done. NTR is an Indian actor, and a darn good one. So, yeah. Man. I don't know, guys. Tom had to bounce, Contino, so I need to get to the store and then get to bed. And you better get some sleep, because we got a busy day tomorrow. Got fun stuff.
Is it packing day tomorrow? Is that what it is?
No, I've got to pack stuff, but we got Midnight's Edge in the morning, and he's got videos to edit. He's a busy boy.
Yeah, I for that whole Young Avengers thing, I'm the guy who's been asking for the Siege for the longest time, and I figured that it would be a great time to do it, since you just brought back what's his name, Willem Dafoe, to be Norman Osborn. It's like, well, why not bring him back to be Iron Patriot and do the Siege and actually create some buzz that you guys desperately need? But no, let's just do Kang. Because
that's gonna, dude. I don't know. This Kang thing's gonna be short-lived. Really, it is, and especially if they wasted it in the Loki show.
Yeah, they're using the Loki show to hype him up for the big Avengers movie, but it's like, how many people really watched Loki or care enough about Loki to even know who the guy is?
I'm tired of homework. Right? I don't want to have to watch a TV show to watch a film.
Yeah. Or pay for the subscription to watch the TV show to then pay for the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. You're right, Logic's Finest. I guarantee that Secret Wars will be in name only. Yeah, and have nothing to do with conference. Of course not.
And like Civil War.
It would be too complicated. They couldn't. They wouldn't be able to do it properly.
You'd have to do it in 2 films.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's what the 2 Avengers films are.
Well,
I think that's what they're doing with She-Hulk's origin, because I can see the crash in the stuff, but if you told her actual comic book origin story, you would take you'd take 4 or 5 episodes just to get to the transfusion, because you'd have to set up, she's a lawyer, you have to set up the case that she's on, you have to set up the mob, and then you'd have to put out the hit and have to shoot her and get her in the hospital, and then the transfusion. You're 4 or 5 episodes in by the time she turns into She-Hulk. So I could see them doing a different origin for that to get to it quick and not waste 4 or 5 hours. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Norman Osborn, Iron Patriot. Wow.
We could get Sentry in one of these movies eventually.
Loki was the worst show I've ever watched, and I've seen the whole. Wow, I can't believe you watched HBO's Watchmen.
It was bad.
I'm gonna be straight with you. I have not seen I have not seen any like Disney Plus show outside of WandaVision because that was like the first one. But outside of that, it's like I'm not missing anything. So
Yeah, you're right. I think Mecha J is right. I think we're going to end up with all new, all different Marvel. God.
yeah.
Well, all right. Tomorrow on the 6 Minute Daily, you're going to get some stories that were going to be part of tonight's show. Sorry, it's just we didn't get to them. Jacob had some good ideas, and we were headed there, but we got chatty. I want everybody to have a chance to say goodbye. I really appreciate the couple of hours you guys spend with me on Sunday night. Sometimes we do 2 hours, sometimes we do 3.5 hours, sometimes we do 4 hours. But we got to keep it tight because we have a lot coming up this week, folks. If you didn't know, a lot of us are going to be in Vegas. You get to see a lot of us there. We're going to be you're going to have surprise live streams from a lot of us, a lot of get-togethers and stuff. It's going to be a good time. I think I got all the supers. Let me double check. Did I miss one? Did you see one that I may have missed, Mr. Tickle Trump? Please tell me. Did I miss one?
Did you do the Duck Nation one already? I'm not sure.
Yeah, Duck Nation says Christopher McQuarrie is one of the top directors and writers in Hollywood now. His Mission Impossible movies, and he wrote Top Gun 2. Dude is making banger films. You're 100% right. 100% right. I agree with you. And that's the only reason that we ended up with Maverick. So, this guy could be the savior of Hollywood. So,
no, don't put that kind of pressure on him.
Yeah, he could be. You don't know.
He could be. Don't tell him that.
Yeah, he could try to be. I want him to try to be. He makes good stuff. Oh gosh, did I miss one? If I missed one, I'm gonna be like mad at myself.
I didn't see any more super chats that you missed. I don't know about member chats.
I think I hit them all, and yeah, I think I hit them all. I don't see any more. You guys are trying to hit the delay button on culture is what you're trying to do. All right.
Tickle's saying that you missed his, but I'm not even sure where that one is now.
I missed yours.
I can't go that far back.
I did? Did you make a super chat? Tickle? Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat.
I think that was the one. It was an expansion on one chat that you'd highlighted, but he had more in the super chat.
Oh, really? Hang on.
About Carpenter and Raimi, he said.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No. I hear you. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, here we go. Got it. For Canadian $5. See, gonna get there. For $5 says, where is this generation's John Carpenter or Sam Raimi? Who can I give my hard-earned money to make cheap, unique, fun, and interesting movies? I promise you, I'm trying to do one. With a lot of people out there that are going to be doing these. Yeah, this guy here, and I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see change. I think we are, and we're going to see a rise in new independent creators. Independent filmmakers who are going to make a lot of money on no budget, and then the studios are going to come knocking on their door. That's the cycle. We are 10 years behind the cycle right now. If you look at how it's normally supposed to work.
I want to see somebody do a film version of what Eric July just did with Rippaverse.
Holy heck, I missed this one too. Nikki D, I am so sorry. I apologize. For $10 says, even if the MCU declines, it sounds like the other profitable sectors of the company, parks, TV, and sports, will cover the losses. The MCU and Star Wars seem to be a low priority based on the last earnings call. I can't disagree with that. You're 100% right. Sports is a temporary salve on the situation, though, and the parks are going to be at the mercy of macroeconomic things. Linear television probably will be the thing that keeps them afloat. You guys have a different perspective, or what do you think?
Well, no, that's the fundamental problem when major multinational corporations are basically the movie studios now. Is that they don't even need their movies to do well because they're making so much money on all these other properties that, yeah, Star Wars and Disney and the Marvel are like the two biggest properties, but Disney owns so much that if those two properties bomb or don't make as much money, they're still making like billions of dollars in other properties to where they just don't even care. So, and that's the problem when companies like Comcast and Disney and all these corporations with their arms and so many other things are the ones making the majority of the movies.
Yeah, we talked about this Thursday night on Ranker Pit. Valiant Renegade got to drop in for a little bit, and he's saying pretty much the same thing, because Star Wars and Marvel, the movie studios for Disney are dropping the bucket to everything else that they do. You know, parks and resorts and real estate and the cruise lines and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And you compare that with the Warner Brothers Discovery call. They're a media company. They make the movies and the TV shows and all this other stuff. Whereas Disney is this multi, fingers in all these other pies. And, yeah, they're everywhere, and they own all sorts of things. But yeah, on that earnings call, you had a lot of emphasis on sports. They talked about the IPL thing. They talked a lot about linear and broadcast and everything else. It almost felt like they were de-emphasizing streaming, not to the extent that Warner Brothers was, but they're talking about all of this other stuff that didn't have anything to do with. I mean, it was by the way, we came out with we released Lightyear, and they mentioned Marvel and they mentioned Star Wars, but it was just in passing. It was just it was an also ran. But there was a lot of emphasis on sports, a lot of emphasis on their owned and operated stations, the linear broadcast stuff. I don't know. It feels like they're doing something different over there in the age of JPEG.
I still feel like some of that subterfuge, because he really didn't come clean about the IPL cricket stuff. Because they really did lose a considerable portion of that because they weren't going to pay for it. In the next licensing deal, can you imagine how much the next NBA licensing deal is going to be? Because they're in the middle of negotiating that right now. And, all the other sports that they have a piece of, Disney's not in the best financial, state to go out there and just spend on stuff. And it's one of the reasons why in the morning show today I was talking about the need for Disney to move ESPN more quickly into streaming, and to either dump the ESPN Plus thing or maybe roll ESPN into Hulu completely, because linear subscriptions are falling off on the cable and satellite providers. So they're kind of over a barrel, right?
But sports are also having an issue in general.
Maybe it's because they're going all in on promoting the WNBA, which nobody wants to watch. Then you wonder why they're having financial troubles with their sports networks. Maybe that's part of the problem.
Isn't Thursday Night Football going to be on Netflix this year? Where was I?
No, Amazon, I think, has it. Yeah.
Thursday Night Football is Amazon. Weird. And hey, they may get Prime Ticket. Amazon may get Prime Ticket and eliminate everybody else from the equation.
Yep.
Because that's what'll happen. Because then everybody's going to be watching their out-of-market games on Amazon, and nobody's going to be worried about catching it on ESPN or anywhere else, right? Yeah. So we got a lot of industrious human beings that are that are saying goodnight in a special way.
Hey,
Drunk Radio says, have a good night.
Canadian Bear.
Drunk was having so much fun. You can tell he and Gina just enjoy like every moment of these cons. So it is. I love every moment of the two of them together. It's pure poetry. I actually wrote a tweet today that was just like, these people are heaven sent. These are just amazing humans. I just love them.
I want to see a short film shot on iPhone with Gina Carano as a Care Bear now.
Yeah, me too. I think that would work. I think and Jay has to be a Care Bear too. And then they have to do the Care Bear stare. They have to do the Care Bear stare.
But she also has to beat up
to Vegas.
She also has to beat up Ryan too. That'd be even funnier.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. With her Care Bear stare.
Yep.
Just have it hit Ryan and make him suddenly nice.
Yep. Make him tap out on the floor.
Yeah. Right. Is Jay going to Vegas? Do we know?
I don't know. I look right now. He's in Boston. I don't know.
Yeah,
if
they've been busy, but
dude's been hustling. And look, I mean, no matter what, Gina's just there's nobody comparable to her. So it's really easy to support her, and it's super easy to support Jay. So I'm going to stop effusing over my buddy Jay. I'll stop doing it. I apologize. But of course we have Eric K sending me $2 saying missed my super chat. Nuh-uh. And then he said again for another $2, you missed this one too. And we did this to Drug 3PO one night for like, I don't know, the better part of like the evening. It was so great. Magitech Mags for $2 says, you missed mine too. No, I didn't, but thanks, Mags. And Eric K says, what about this one you missed? Thank you for $2. You guys are just insane. I love all of you. Eric K for $2. Are you blind? You're missing so many. I'm trying. Mags again says missed this one for another $2. And Mr. Tickle Trunk for a Canadian $2 says, run, CC. Fly, you fools. Fly. That's right. I love it. I hope everybody was having that much fun. You guys have anything to promote?
Top row, yelling at parked cars tomorrow.
That's right.
Yeah, I'll be on tomorrow, and then next week I have a new slate of shows. But just follow me on side reviews at Twitch and YouTube. So go ahead and do that.
There you go.
Find out about all my stuff.
And there's 150 or so people watching. Make sure you smash that like button. Hit the share button. The share button's like one of the most crucial things you can hit nowadays for YouTube. Helps us out a lot. And by the way, I'm going to drop a link in the chat right now. Do not go and subscribe to Snowdub. There's the link in the chat. Do not click that. And do not click subscribe, whatever you do.
E-Clay, I can't find it, man. If I really did miss it, sometimes you're a little mean. When Mr. Gregory's not here, highlighting him in the background when I step away, I do miss them. So if I did, let me know, and I'll make recompense. So and I will see all of you in 10.5 hours, as Olafan points out. So. Yeah, unsub to Snow.
No, just cancel your membership, right, Paulie? Ha ha. Oh, sorry.
You guys are so great. Well, let me say this: everybody on this panel deserves your subscription. Jason at Sci-Fi, Jacob at Society Reviews, Brahma Bull, his little tiny channel. It's growing. I'm just
whatever the hell I'm doing.
Yeah, he's fun.
I just pop around and talk to people. It's fun. I don't have to worry about a channel, but I would prefer that people sub to the channel so that there's a reason to do something at some point besides talk on everybody else's.
Other than play video games all night. All right. Well, with that,
for Brahmadeus.
Yeah, there won't be any post credit scenes tonight. I don't think. Maybe, but I need to get to bed. Vegas is coming, baby. We got Vegas in how many days?
Well, for me, I'll be flying out on Tuesday. So
there you go. 2 days for you. All right. Yeah. Roll those beautiful bean footage credits. Let's go.
Yeah. Sometimes I get so mad, there's no controlling me. My thoughts get so bad, I'm like, I might grab a bat, I don't know. My wrath, my blood boils over like, oh God, here goes. I lost all feeling from my head to my toes. You said some shit that I can't let go, so just stay tuned for the rest of the show.
After party at Sapphire Strip Club.
The puppets are already there.
Cause I know you got me fucked up. Let me show you what's up. Cause enough is enough. I'll take a face full of pavement just to make a statement. I know there's no turning back. Oh God, adrenaline wasted. So mad I can taste it. I know there's no turning back. I'll do what it takes, I ain't making mistakes like that. I'll lay it on your face just to make you go take it back. I'll lose my shit, I go crazy when I'm mad. And now you gon' wish you had shut the fuck up real bad. And now that I'm gone, yeah, I know there's no turning back. And now that I'm gone, yeah, I know there's no turning back. I don't fucking take smoke, I'ma poke a hole through you, choking's overdue. Come at me and you won't get any older, dude. Crack your holder too. Heating up inside of me, blood so violently. Thanks for trying me. Now it's finally time to see how this rivalry becomes a dynasty. Oh God, adrenaline wasted, so mad I can taste it. I know there's no turning back. I'll do what it takes, I ain't making mistakes like that. I'll put it on your face to make you go take it back.
Have you ever had a dream that you had you could you do you want you could do so you do you could you want him to do you so much you could do anything?
How did Cassie get on this list? So are we seriously not going to talk about how that dog got monkeypox? I mean, I figure that's like a pretty big story, right? Like,
Well, actually, down at the strip club, I hear there's a little bit of an epidemic, so you might want to bring your rubber gloves.
yeah, okay, I'll definitely do that. Sapphire's in Las Vegas, by the way.
I'll see you down there.
I'll
Culture,
see you too.
are you ready?
Culture, you come to the pool